Hi everybody, welcome to my presentation. This is my family tree. I was only able to get as far as my great-grandparents. It was hard to find information further than that. So everybody who's got the asterisk next to their name is bilingual Spanish and English. So we got myself, my mom and my dad, and one of my grandparents who's fluent in Spanish and English. My family comes from northern Sonora. All the area in red is Sonora, but where the arrow is, the white arrow up on top, that's kind of where my family is from. So Sonoran people means half Spaniard and half indigenous. Home of the Yaqui. The Yaqui did have their own language, but most of the people speak Spanish. My dad's side of the family, we were able to go 4 generations back, and we know that the grandfather on that side came from Spain. We are not able to verify the area that they came from, but being from Spain, he would have spoken Castilian Spanish. It's different from our Spanish, and even the dialect in northern Sonora is different from the Castellano Spanish from the southern portion of Mexico. My family is believed to be from the Yaqui tribe, and they speak Yoemi. None of us speak the Yoemi. It was a lost language. I believe it was lost because of the turmoil that was happening during the times. You had European people and Spaniard people coming over and fighting for the lands and just kind of taking over. So I believe it happened the same way it happened here in the United States, where it was just really volatile and just not a good situation. So people would just assimilate, and they kind of lost their culture and their language. At least for our generation, we did. My dad's side of the family, his great-great-grandfather, we believe, was from the Tarahumara tribe, and the same thing happened with them. The Spanish settlers came in, kind of took over their lands. They kind of went up to the mountains and lived in little households called ranchos. So here's a breakdown. Castilian Spanish is from my ancestors from Spain. Yoemi and Raramuri is from the indigenous people from Mexico that were here before Spain and other European countries invaded and took over. And Spanish is the language that we know, that my family knows now. This is my hometown, Ambos Nogales, which means Spanish for both Nogales. There's just a fence. It used to be a chain link fence that separated both sides of both towns, or both cities. Spaniards meet the indigenous people, and that's how Mexican people are made. I've got a couple of pictures from the Yaqui tribe. Just represents part of my history. Religion is a big portion, big thing with my family. So I put Virgencita, colorful houses, and just decor and all of that is big for Mexican families. So I included that, and that large table I included because family is important. So big dinners, family dinners and stuff. Most Mexican houses will have that. Here's a picture of my family's language tree. And if you can see, from my spot down, everybody knows Spanish. From mine and my husband's upward, they do not know Spanish. Different circumstances brought us to my oldest son. He was 1.5 years when we moved away from Nogales, and he was learning both languages at the same time. He was bilingual. we moved away to smaller towns where Spanish was the minority, and it was hard to keep the language going without having family close by. So we just kind of stopped, and we've kind of left the language behind. We tried getting them to take classes when they were older, but it was really hard for them, and my oldest son didn't want to learn it, being that we were in Minnesota and he didn't want to be different. So that's the rest of my grandparents and great-grandfathers. Like I said, great-grandfather maternal's side was from Chihuahua, which would be the Taramuri, and great-great-paternal grandfather is from Spain. We could not find more information on that. Parental language, both my parents are bilingual. My dad was not bilingual. He moved here from Magdalena when he was in 5th grade. He really didn't learn English till he was in 6th grade. It was until at that point he got immersed into a English only class, so he was able to learn English that way. And I am completely bilingual. My husband understands it, but he prefers to speak English only. And my dialect is from Nogales, which is a Spanglish. And I will give you a quick example of my language.
How do I tell my mom we're hanging out in Spanish? Coño, chico, vas a estar yendo.
And that is really how we speak in my hometown. Thank you for joining me.